Hello friends. Today I'm going to show you my latest junk journal creation. I just finished this yesterday. This is an oversized junk journal made from a mix of vintage and some new ephemera, mostly sourced from secondhand sources like thrift stores, the swap meet, and even some of it from freebie alerts. So without further ado, let's get into my magnificent mushroom junk journal. So the front cover is made from some vintage 60s fabric I found at swap meet. And it's topped with a mushroom applique, which is actually a 70s kitchen towel that's got some batting behind it to give it a nice puff. There is a ruffle all around the edges made from leftover fabric I had from a quilting project. And let's go to the back. The back is made from a 1970s baby blanket that I found at a thrift store, and with appliques on top. These are more of that kitchen towel turned into little heart-shaped appliques. And I made some new fabric from scrap remnants and solvie. And from that new fabric, I created this super cute little crown topped with the painted button. And then on the spine, I have some really cute charms. They do have a tendency to get a little tangled. These are all mostly vintage buttons that I found at a thrift store. Back in the day, our grandmothers used to save all of the buttons from old clothes. So that's where that came from. A lot of really cute vintage buttons. There are a couple newer beads. Has a nice little jingly sound, but it does tend to get a little tangled. So you do have to be aware of that. And of course, I live in San Diego, so I threw in a beach shell because why not? Okay, let's get into the journal itself. The journal has a nice tie closure, which ties into a big bow. This came from a stash of fabric I picked up off of freebie alerts. This woman was clearing out her mother's old fabric stash. You know how that goes when you're a crafter. Her mother wasn't crafting anymore, and she had collected way more than any one person could ever really use. So she was just giving it away. But I thought that this bright yellow color went really well with this very vivid theme. Okay, there's going to be more vivid colors coming your way. Okay, and so I have made a very cute little front pocket from a cardigan I found at a thrift store. And this piece of ephemera, a nice little journaling card, is actually a die cut from the Dollar Tree. You find these right now in their store. They have a whole bunch of really cute summer decorations, and this is one of them. I backed one side and sewed it down. The backing is from a pad of scrapbook paper I picked up at a thrift store. And then I also am including this nice little bag filled with ephemera. I made this bag from a cereal bag, and I put a cute little mushroom applique from scrap fabric on the front. And there's just so much ephemera in here. I'm just going to flip through it really quickly because there's so much to show you in this journal. So there is a lot of illustrations from 70s children's books in here that I have used for journaling bits. A lot of them have been backed. It's cute baby birds in a nest, a little tag. Game pieces. This is a Candyland game card. Super cute koala playing card from the 70s. A little bicycle. This is a little letter, place for you to put secret notes. One side is painted. You could tuck that in a little corner of your journal. Some cactuses. Okay, I'm just gonna flip through these now. So the overall theme of color theme for this journal is green and yellow, or a blue, green, and yellow. And you'll see that carried throughout the journal. A lot of happy colors to be repeated. This is a piece of journal ephemera I purchased from Jenny May June in one of her ephemera packs. I love her ephemera packs. They're so bright and colorful and happy. They're just so up my alley. I had bought some Halloween packs in the fall, and she had included this in there. It's so cute. It's an old playing card from the 70s, Palm Springs. Just some really fun, playful ephemera bits to use in this journal or any other journal that you may have. You want to carry bright colors throughout. Okay, so the journal has 5 signatures in total. They're approximately 10 to 11 pages each. And they're big pages. I wanted to make this a big over-the-top journal, and hopefully you'll get the sense of that as I go through the pages. A lot of journaling cards in here with tuck spots. I try to incorporate unexpected shapes. Secret tuck spots with more journaling cards and playing cards. A lot of maps. This is probably my favorite part of the journal. I just love how these colors look together. I think they're so pretty. They really complement each other. And hidden behind this little flipped out card, more journaling cards and some vintage playing cards. I think these are from the 40s. Could be the 50s. That's what the style of illustration looks like. Oh, so these are sewn in with the pamphlet stitch. I actually have two going. I have a basic one, and then I did a running stitch over it just to secure it because these pages are so big. And a lot of vintage fabric used as trim. This is actually off of an old apron I found. I can't really date the apron. It's hard to date this particular apron, but it definitely has a very 70s vibe, so probably the 70s, which goes perfectly with this journal. Oversized rickrack. I just love rickrack. These are all, when you see these pages, these are hand-painted pages. Garden books. Used a lot of garden books. So here's a little belly band. Oh, I think this is really funny. I think it's like a picture of a vet, and he's about to get head butted by a cute little goat. Just really silly. More journaling pages. This is all hand painted and stenciled and colored and drawn on. You'll see a lot of vintage trim. Here's another vintage trim. Not sure how old it is, but probably 70s, could be 60s. Vintage lace. Here is a envelope which serves as a double pocket. Very cute kitten on the front of a card. I just love the funky like fabric background. It almost looks like a carpeted wall, which is so 70s. And then behind there, I have a journaling card of a beautiful butterfly with some super fun embroidery stitching around the edges. This book has a lot of like little flip outs where you can add sort of hidden messages or great places to put extra content in. I have also included a few plain pages, so whoever buys this journal from me has space to kind of a little more freedom with what you want to express on your page. Vintage sheets. Here's another tuck spot with a flip card or a mini notebook for you to write whatever you like. So this is a tuck spot. I didn't put anything in this tuck spot. There's also an upper tuck spot. I thought I'd leave that in there. It's to allow whoever ends up getting it, it's kind of an extra space to play with creatively, however you like. This is the next signature. Again, another painted scrapbook page, hand-painted scrapbook page. I've had a sweet tooth lately, so I just love these pictures of cake, illustrative pictures of how to make a cake. I just think they're so fun. There's the little ugly duckling and more hand-painted pages. Here is a crazy big flip out. And this is really groovy. This is a book from the 70s for how to play the organ, like a church organ. And they all have these funky genie illustrations. So fun. These colors are just so wild. Oops. Okay, that's a little heavy. So this is a book, a page from a knitting book, a vintage knitting book. I think this is probably the 40s or the 50s. And this book has a lot of side pockets for stashing stuff. I made this oversized journaling card. I love this picture of a family, and I can't tell if this little girl who's pouting is looking at a goat. It's probably a dog, but just the posture of the animal makes it look like a goat, which is just so silly. But this is a great vintage picture. I mean, look at this TV on the brass stand. The little girl's bedtime outfit. It's a bell-bottom onesie. It's just fun. So great. Hello. Sorry about that. My son just came home. And hand-drawn mushroom. Some plain pages here. Here is another page, just flips out. I just have so many flip outs in this book because I love flip outs. I think that they're a lot of fun. And it's a great way to expand the writing space in a signature. So this is the back of that painted page. Here's the next page. I have included some really cute ephemera in the front. I love this picture. These tiny little birdhouses are just so adorable. On some scrapbook paper, another little notebook here, and of course, here's the other goat image. We're just gonna slide that back in there. Okay. I usually include a lot of music pages in my journals, but this one less so. But there's a few cute little music pages included. Here is another one of those wonderful popsicle images purchased at the Dollar Tree, backed with scrapbook paper and sewn. And another mushroom drawing with vintage trim sewn to the side. Here is, here's another page, just more pages, more children's books pages. I just included a lot of children's books pages because they're just so bright, so colorful, so happy. Of course, Care Bears. Vintage Sesame Street. This is the middle of the signature. Oops. Oops. Okay. This is, I think, my favorite pocket is this little house with a rainbow over it. I sewed it onto this page. And I have included children's cards game pieces. Here's a little painted paper glued onto this children's illustration. A receipt, a blank receipt. some lilies. This was another vintage card. And more, another pocket. This pocket, I really like how it came out. It's a collage of all of the scraps that I had used on a thicker piece of paper. And I just love how all of these bright colors look together. More journaling cards. Here are some kids on a jungle gym, and it occurred to me yesterday as I was finishing this journal up, I remembered that a long time ago they used to see these at a lot of playgrounds, and you just don't see them anymore. I'm assuming that they've been banned because they're not safe, but they were these huge geodesic domes with bars to climb up, and maybe enough kids broke their legs playing on them that they finally banned them. But I do remember playing on these as a kid, and you just don't see them anymore. This is some pages with seating arrangements from a vintage cookbook for a banquet, and the back is hand-painted papers. And this is another children's book page backed onto paper for journaling. A bridge score pad, and then a little adult coloring book turned into a journaling card. This is new. This one's not vintage. This is a newer postcard. I thought that the colors went really well, so I went ahead and put them in. And some bridge scorecards. Okay. Vintage card. This is cut out of a vintage card. And you see some of the same pages that you've seen earlier. Oh, this is another favorite. I love this picture. This little girl looks so sassy with her little pigtails at the beach. Vintage children's book illustration of people at the supermarket. Daisy playing card. And this is a paint sample. I turned it into a card. Actually, I didn't buy green parakeet. I bought a color very close to it, and I've painted a couple furnitures in this really pretty furniture pieces in my house, this really pretty teal color. More painted pages. So this is the last page. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, there are a couple more. Almost the last page in this signature. A lot of great tuck spots. I've thrown in some vintage ephemera buttons. This little envelope contains canning jar seals, vintage canning jar seals that you can use. They're gummed on the back, but I wouldn't rely on the old glue on the back. I'd use fresh glue if I were to use them in my journal. But that's a fun little piece that you can use. And more ephemera. There's just so much ephemera in this book. You can tell I just love green. These were other colors I was considering. A daisy. And this is a vintage bridge score page with, looks like the rules for how to score your bridge game. So whenever I use these pages from the pipe organ sheet music, I reinforce the original bend with some washi tape on both sides to give it a little extra sturdiness. And this is from a vintage roll of yarn. My daughter had purchased this yarn at a thrift store, and she set aside the yarn wrapper for me. It's got some of the glue marks on it, but I really love this, so I turned it into a belly band. I love the swirl colors. It's just very fun, very playful. And of course, one more little notepad. And so now, last but not least, we are getting into the last signature of the book. We have some super fun fungi, mushrooms, drawn on the front of this painted page. This page is actually printed from a pack of scrapbook paper I purchased. So one side's printed and the other side's painted. This is vintage letter paper. There's one more page of this coming up, but a different theme. I used another bit of vintage kitchen towel, this time as trim. This is the vintage sheet. Vintage, almost everything in this book is vintage. This is a vintage children's book. It's probably from the 40s. It has a really nice waffly texture to it. I have a thing for daisies, so you'll notice throughout this book that there are a lot of daisies that I've painted. Daisies and mushrooms. I just feel like they give they really give that 70s vibe. And this is the other letter paper. Also very 70s. You can just tell by that font. And we are coming up to the very last page, which is another delicious cake. And that's it. That is the end of my oversized, magnificent mushroom junk